What's up, folks? Today is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. Coming up on Roland Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network this Juneteenth week. In Georgia, Republicans are not redrawing the state's political maps despite Governor Brian Kemp's special session being specifically called for that purpose. But there are some other things. Protests broke out today in the state capitol. We'll show you what took place. The races are set for key Georgia elections, and we will provide a recap of Tuesday's runoffs. Also, we'll examine the findings of an expert in elections forensics regarding the purging of black voters from the rolls, plus Florida's claims of ghost voters. We'll talk to a black Georgia farmer about the importance of black American family farms to food security and what could happen if we lost them completely. Plus, the missing police officer who killed a black one-year-old child is now on leave, and the family is demanding the release of body cam footage from the incident. A white Florida police officer who choked a fellow officer will not face a jury. We'll explain why his charges could potentially be dropped altogether. Plus, Trump's reasoning behind why the U.S. will return Iran's frozen assets instead of seizing them has left many people confused, and it shows his stupidity. Friday marked the 161st anniversary of Juneteenth. Tonight, we'll speak with the son of the father of Juneteenth, late Texas State Representative Al Edwards Sr. Folks, it's time to bring the funk. Roland Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
Folks, so the Election Truth Alliance is a nonpartisan nonprofit group that has recently released a report on how Florida's voter registration database and vote counting systems were compromised during the 2024 election, enabling vote manipulation at the presidential and down ballot levels. Also, we're talking about how black folks have been purged from voting rolls, and this has been a very targeted effort by Republicans. Nathan Taylor, this is the executive director of the Alliance. He joins us right now. All right, Nathan, glad to have you here. So lay it out. How are you breaking down the Florida systems were compromised?
Absolutely. So the ETA, as you said, has been, we've been doing this for almost 2 years now, actually investigating U.S. elections, starting with the 24 election. And we've been working with an investigative journalist named Allison Green out of Florida. And she has helped us gain access to the voter rolls in Florida, has helped us start digging up and actually doing on-the-ground investigations. And as you mentioned, the concerns we are finding is that when looking at the voter registration for Florida and even some other states as well, we have started to find problems that could be created by could be a cause of purging voters. And we've also started to flag some concerns with the voting behavior. I think last time you had us on, we were talking about some other swing states we were investigating as well, such as Pennsylvania and North Carolina. So I'll lay it out real quick for you. The main concerns we've come up with now, as we've worked with Allison Green and we've been investigating, one of the counties is St. Lucie County, by the way. I've actually been on site in St. Lucie and been investigating, and we have plans to go back because we are building litigation in Florida for these problems we're finding. Problems that we are concerned are tied to the voting systems and the voter registration database that we're still using right now and we will be using in the next major election. Some of the things we've started finding. First and foremost, most people may not be aware, but in 2016 in Florida, I think 2 counties actually detected malware on their voter registration databases. One of those counties was St. Lucie, and that has been the focus of our investigations for the 24 election and up to date.
Hold tight one second. Was the malware detected before the election or after the election?
For 2016, it was detected after, There was an investigation. This malware was ultimately blamed on being a Russian-designed malware in the voter registration database for 2 counties at least. There was no evidence at the time, or the investigation said that they did not find it was used, but it was designed based on their statements. This was briefed to the White House. I believe the Department of Homeland Security and the CIA actually briefed this to the then president after the 2016 election. And this malware was designed to, and I quote, allow the targeting and purging of voters based on key demographics, such as being minority voters, and could purge up to, say, 10% of the active registered voters in a county. So that's important because we are now flagging, as we've been investigating the 24 election in St. Lucie County and Florida and other places, we are seeing evidence that suggests that if that malware did exist then, it may, or something like it, could be in effect in the 24 election and recently, because we are finding evidence of purged voters. In St. Lucie County, for example, Allison Green got the voter registration database from before the 24 election, the presidential, and then right after, and around 25,000 active registered voters were purged from the rolls with no documentation from the county, and that's about 10% of the active registered voters in that county. By the way, St. Lucie County being, I believe, like the 11th most populated county for Black residents. I think Fort Pierce was really one of the areas in St. Lucie we were focusing on and finding these problems.
So,
any other questions before I get into the actual on the ground pieces that I think are important?
Okay, just go right ahead. Walk us through that.
All right. Yeah. So, as I said, Allison helped us get the rolls, and also we have done an analysis flagging abnormal voting behavior in Florida, in St. Lucie County, just like in the swing states. By the way, all of these places, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Florida, they're all using the one major voting system brand, ES&S, which we now have disclosed vulnerabilities to their source code for their software. And we've done some on-the-ground investigations to highlight, is there a problem with the registration database? Not only the purging, but we've now started to flag concerns with what, as you mentioned, would be, we're coining as ghost voters, voters that are not real or not active, and they are potentially having votes cast for them. And so I do have some examples of this as we've been investigating. And as I said, we're building litigation because we want to get to the bottom of how is this going on? How is this not being discovered by the counties in the state? Some of the things we've been finding, for example, in St. Lucie County, they have, let me see here, in St. Lucie County specifically, over half of their precincts had more votes cast than active registered voters in the 24 election. So 35 of their 61 precincts had more votes cast than active registered voters. As I said, some of those precincts we've been flagging are around the Fort Pierce area, which is where a majority of Black voters and Black residents are in that county. We also flagged some other issues with when doing these records requests. The chain of custody of the ballots has kind of come up as we're missing some of those sequential batches of ballots that the county, hasn't provided us information on. We did some door knocking because that was the next step in our process. As we said, if there's a problem with the systems that are both counting the votes here, but also the systems that keep registered voters, and someone is, doing something behind the scenes, well, let's start going to some of these areas where these voters are and let's talk to them. Let's see if what's happening, digitally is matching what's happening on the ground. And I'm sad to say, we went to multiple locations. We went to a UPS store that had multiple active registered voters that don't live there. We went to a boat marina where we were finding the same thing, where there were a bunch of potentially ghost voters on the rolls and showing up as active and engaged in the elections, in the presidential election, but don't actually exist. Allison has now started to put out more of her work. She has a Substack. We have a Substack as well. And her campaign is It's Up to Us. And she's putting on her Substack further evidence of ridiculous amounts of voters in these voter rolls that have first names like ATM or have last names like none or live on a residential address streets with no houses in them. And kind of the final piece of this, we actually went to a address that was under construction during the 24 election. A couple was showing as having purchased that house and moved in after the election. We went and knocked on their door because the husband of the couple shows, per the county records, as having voted in the 24 election. And yet when we went and we talked to them, they didn't live in the county. They lived in Palm Beach County, not St. Lucie County. And they voted in Palm Beach County. And yet the husband had a vote cast for him in St. Lucie County. And this was just the first things we started finding. We've continued to dig and we've continued to flag these problems, and especially have started to raise concerns of the systems, as I said, that we're still using right now.
Any response from the state of Florida?
No, the county, which had provided us those records, due to records requests, which Allison Green has been working with, we really just kind of didn't get a investigation or a response. We're looking at how could we bring this forward litigation wise, and whose responsibility is it to actually do something about this? Because as we said, if this has been going on for at least one election, well, some of these problems mirror concerns raised in 2016 as well. And so I think there's been other individuals that have been investigating and doing this work, Greg Pallas being one, looking at like the purging of voters. And I'm concerned because, as I said, we're finding these problems in Florida, but we have started investigating similar concerns of illegal purging that could be, you could pull it off by compromising the databases. And we're finding some of those same problems across other states as well as we've continued to investigate.
Questions for my panel. I'm going to bring them in. Robert Patillo. He is a civil rights attorney with the Patillo Law Firm out of Atlanta. Joy Cheney, founder of Joy Strategies out of D.C., and we'll be joined later by Rebecca Carruthers, President and CEO of Fair Elections Center out of D.C. Robert, you first.
This is great work and great reporting that you're putting out there. For average voters, what should be the biggest concern they have with the quote unquote integrity of this voting system? Because we've heard from years and decades, frankly, from Republicans, we need to be afraid of election integrity. But it appears in 2024, with the confluence of turning points and Elon and the billions of dollars flowing in, it seems that the 2024 election may have been less secure than people give it credit for.
That's an excellent point. And there's two pieces, as you said. How can voters be engaged and actually have a say in this piece? And, what are some of these recent concerns? Well, as you said, with certain individuals that have come up in Pennsylvania as knowing vote counting computers and, being involved, there's definitely an issue right now where voters need to be checking their voter registration, especially leading up to the next major election. We did find issues in the 24 election in Pennsylvania and other places where voters who were active showed up to vote and they had been purged with, no warning. Mm-hmm. So you can check this multiple times leading up to the election. And then the other piece, really what we've been doing is, as we've been, as you said, investigating, making this public, voters need to know that the systems we're trusting at the county and the state level, as we're finding out now, we are flagging that they are vulnerable to manipulation, that the software we're using has vulnerabilities that could be exploited if you knew what you were doing, and that the states and the counties need to do something about it. They need to fix this. They need to patch these systems. And we've really just kind of been stonewalled when we go to the states, like we've been doing in Pennsylvania and North Carolina and, in other places as well.
Joy?
So I just want to make sure, what you're arguing, though, doesn't lend to the credibility that all elections are rigged. And I think that that's something that we have to be really careful about, with saying there are some problems and we need to make sure that we're securing these boxes, and then saying on the other side, don't worry about going to vote because it's not, it's a fait accompli, right? There's some invisible hand. So how do you make sure you report on this, but doing so responsibly so that we can fix what needs to be fixed, but also not scare people away from the polls?
Right. That's the big piece is, as we have continued to do this investigation, we want people to show up and vote. We want people more engaged and more active in being registered, and checking that is one piece. But also, one thing we found is that there's not really been other groups that have put as much effort and time in investigating as now, right? More people are aware of these problems and watching, and we're hopeful that if there are problems going into the next major election, the more people who are engaged in our elections will make it harder or more visible if someone is doing something. And as I said, the ETA, we are now investigating. We are now active. We didn't exist 2 years ago during the 24 election. And so I like to say that is there are more people who are watching, and more people who are willing to take action as we go forward in our elections. And the more people who are engaged in our elections going forward, the easier this process can be, and we can verify as we continue.
This obviously is deeply concerning, and of course, Donald Trump still calls Russians' role a hoax. We think back to 2016 when Obama wanted to go public, but it was Mitch McConnell who said no. I still contend Obama should have said, "The hell with you, Mitch. Let's tell the American people what's going on." There's no doubt Russia had a very serious role to play in the 2016 election.
There was all kinds of concerns raised, especially at this point we had documented that post 2016 there were investigations because I believe multiple counties across the U.S., across all the states, had received concerning emails, potential attempts to phish and gain access to systems. And most people don't remember that on election night, on the 2024 election night, there were over 200 bomb threats called in by email that was attributed to Russian email domains. So it's, I think, a little silly to say, other nations wouldn't have a vested interest in our elections. And it's very silly to think that if there's problems, as we've now made public about our voting systems and the software, that no one would want to exploit them. Absolutely, they would. It's just a question of how can we make sure they can't as we go forward, and how can we catch it, detect it, and stop it.
All right, then. Nathan Taylor, we certainly appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. Tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
I'm Russell L. Honoré, Lieutenant General, United States Army, retired, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, according to the Georgia Secretary of State, more than 1 million total votes have been cast in the primary runoffs. Several major races, including the Republican gubernatorial and U.S. Senate elections, were on the ballot. The results are in. Last night, Republican Rick Jackson will advance to the November general election with Democratic former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. It was Jackson who beat the lieutenant governor in Georgia, Burt Lance, to win that position. Donald Trump, as well as Brian Kemp, backed Lance over Jackson. Well, that did not help. But Jackson is a billionaire, and he's been self-funding his campaign in the United States Senate race. Hard right core Congressman Mike Collins advanced to the general election. He is going to face Democratic Senator John Ossoff. He beat out David Dooley, who was endorsed by, first of all, Collins was endorsed by Trump. Dooley was endorsed by Kemp, and so that's what happened there. On the Democratic side, in the Secretary of State's race, Judge Penny Brown Reynolds will face Tim Fleming for the office of Secretary of State. Fleming beat one of the most despicable individuals ever on the Republican side, Vernon Jones. Vernon Jones, of course, former county executive, county CEO. Vernon Jones, he was a Democrat, flipped to the Republican side. He spent years kissing tons, and I mean tons, of MAGA ass. He's run for numerous positions. He ran for a state seat. That did not work. He ran for, again, Secretary of State. And this is Vernon right here. And so, Vernon, how did you enjoy that ass kicking you got? See, Vernon loves to talk trash on social media, loves to denigrate African Americans, don't agree with him. And he's kissed more Donald Trump ass than Melania Trump or Lindsey Graham. Well, he's taken another L, virtue of Republicans in Georgia. Ain't that something? So sad to see Vernon lose. Psych. Amanda Hollowell and Jim Kingston will go head-to-head in Georgia's 1st Congressional District, while Sarita Smith will face Rick Allen in Georgia's 12th Congressional District. So you got those races. Then, of course, Fulton County is going to have a new chair. That's right, Mo Ivory, a commissioner. She beat out the incumbent in that race. Let's talk about it. Robert, I'll start with you. Feels so sad for poor little Vernon.
You know, Vernon, this is what I'm trying to figure out with all the black MAGAs out there who may be listening. Donald Trump endorsed in the gubernatorial Republican primary. He endorsed in the Senate Republican primary. Why didn't he endorse Vernon Jones? Vernon Jones has debased himself. He has embarrassed himself. He has become obsequious to a sycophantic extent when it comes to this Trump era. But Donald Trump, when it comes time to return the favor, to actually stand up and say he supports you, he never shows up for black folks who put their necks on the line for Donald Trump. And I think it should be instructive to black folks coming forward who may think maybe I'll get onto the MAGA team. Just look at Vernon Jones as a cautionary tale. And the guy he lost to, Tim Fleming. I've been in Georgia politics my entire life. I've never heard of this man. I've never seen him. I haven't seen a single yard sign. I haven't seen a commercial. I haven't seen a digital ad. I haven't seen a flyer. I haven't seen an interview. I don't think he went to the debate. So essentially, Vernon Jones was running against absolutely nobody and still lost significantly. And this is important for the black folks.
Oh, he got trounced.
The MAGA coalition.
He got trounced 65 to 35.
They called the election as soon as 8 o'clock hit. There was no drama. They're like, well, 2% reporting, Vernon Jones lost. But why wasn't Donald Trump here? Why wasn't the entire MAGA establishment? Why were they doing podcasts across the state saying we're going to bring Vernon across the line the way they do for some of these other candidates? And on the macro scale, you have to look at these turnout numbers even for the runoff election here in Georgia. Democrats are outpacing Republicans by nearly 1 million votes, even in the runoff at this point in time. Keeping the same energy up, particularly given the far right-wing candidates that Republicans decide to nominate. I mean, Rick Jackson looks like an antebellum general. Collins is just literally an insane person, even among MAGAs in Congress. This is the reason they endorsed Dooley, who's a football coach's son. That's his only qualification. And they wanted him over Collins. Democrats have an opportunity to take the governor's mansion, maintain the Senate, and also win down ballot races across the state. And that takes place. We are going to see a new electoral map in 2028 with Democrats having not only the opportunity to win and hold the House, they can win and hold the Senate this fall and potentially take back the House and have a filibuster-proof majority in 2028 as they keep appealing to what we're seeing. People want generational change. People want new ideas. People want fresh faces. People want new fighters going forward. The people who have brought us this far, we thank you for the service, but now it's time for some new energy and new ideas. And we're seeing this take place in Georgia. We're owed to Petri dish. We'll see this happen nationwide.
So what the hell happened in the Fulton County race? Go to my iPad. Mo Ivory just destroyed incumbent Rob Pitts, 66% to 34%.
Well, me and Mariah used to do radio together on WAOK in Atlanta. She's a well-known individual in both media and in politics in Atlanta. She's been everywhere. She's worked the communities, and like I said, Rod Pitts has been venerable. He has guided Fulton County from essentially being, a small city to being one of the metropolitan capitals of the world. You cannot underestimate or discount the work that Rod Pitts has done over the course of the last 40 years. But as I said, people are interested in generational change. They want demographic change. They want new ideas. They want new voices, new faces. And there's nothing wrong with that. We saw this happen with the Republican Party about a decade ago when that John McCain, Bob Dole, Mitt Romney version of the Republican Party went away, and we got the version that we see now. And I think we're seeing this sea change take place where, simply put, people are tired of what has been and they want change. This is a hope and change election in 2026. And I think we're going to see something very similar in 2028. That it's time that if you're sitting at home thinking maybe I should work on running, get that plan together. Start working on your fundraising. Get the website going. This is your call. The people are telling you right now that we want change and we want it to take place right now. That this is the opportunity that we have to push new ideas and new people forward.
Joy, we saw earlier this year in the Public Service Commission, Democrats winning 2 of those races, and that shocked some folks in Georgia. They did not see the results they wanted in the Supreme Court races that took place as well. But what you're now dealing with this year is real simple. You look at, everybody keeps, some of these people in D.C., this is why I keep saying, totally ignore these fools in D.C. These people keep saying, oh, you can't make this election about Trump. Actually, you can. You can make it about Trump. You can make it about his tariffs, how they're destroying farms, destroying small businesses. You got lots of rural farms there in Georgia. And so agriculture economy is significant. And so what you say is Trump did this, and Republicans on the federal and the state level follow right behind them and offered no pushback. That's how you tie those two together. And, I disagree with a lot of people who keep saying, like all the people who keep saying Democrats are in disarray. They keep citing polls. First of all, those polls to me make no sense at all, because if you show me who's winning in these local races, Democrats are winning.
Absolutely. Look, the Democratic Party may have some disarray, but the people who are Democrats are aligned, and they are of one mind. And it is about Donald Trump. He's on every ballot in the country, and our freedom and our democracy is on every ballot in the country. And between those two, they are voting for our freedom and democracy. And of course, that is against anyone who wears the MAGA banner, or frankly, even the Republican banner, because they have not shown that they're willing to stand up to him. So I don't know what credible Democrat is saying Donald Trump should not be our focus. He has just so many failed policies. The proof is in the pudding. We absolutely ought to be tying every single Republican to him, even the ones you like. If you like them, guess what? They're going to side with him. They're going to be voting his camp, which is a vote against what you want. And the American people are not stupid. They are very clear about that. Let me just give a hat tip to Penny, who is running for Attorney General in Georgia. She is an example of not necessarily generational change, but just spirited change, a firebrand, brilliant woman who is going to be standing up. But she's a new face and a new name that people haven't seen. That's what they want to see. She can work across the aisle, but she also can fight for the people who sent her. Those are the types of people that they want to see running for them. It's not so much that they're Democrats, it's that they are going to fight for the American people. And in this case, we're talking about Georgia, the people of Georgia. That's what they're responding to. So yeah, Democratic Party, don't worry about them. We're on the ballot, and Donald Trump is who's against us.
And Roland, on that point, in this Republican race for the statewide offices, these Republicans have tied themselves so closely to Donald Trump. Essentially, Matt Collins, his entire campaign was Donald Trump likes me. Every single commercial that you saw for the last 3 months was him and Donald Trump. For Rick Jackson literally ran fake commercials of Brian Kemp and Donald Trump saying nice things about him to pretend that they had endorsed him in the race, even though they both endorsed Burt Jones. I mean, we're dealing with extreme MAGA Republicans. So you got to tie everything that Trump is doing around them. Show people gas prices versus the UFC arena and the monster truck rally that he was taking place. Show people what's going on with healthcare versus him resurfacing the pool at the White House. You have to hammer home that these millionaires and billionaires are only running for one particular reason, and that's to line their pockets. Elon Musk invested $250 million so he could become a trillionaire. What do you think the rest of these billionaires are doing? And you have to hang that around their neck on a state and local level in order to start taking the country back.
Rebecca, did not take Senator John Ossoff long to hit Representative Mike Collins. He wins last night. Ossoff drops this video last night. Watch.
This is Mike.
I'm a conservative, pro-life, pro-gun, pro-Trump, God-fearing, truck-driving outsider.
Well, sorta. Let's see what's actually under the hood.
Pro-Trump, America First trucker.
Mike prides himself on his down-home, everyman bootstrap roots.
I'm just a good old boy that's made a living in the trucking business. An outsider.
Truth is, Mike took over his dad's trucking company and followed in his footsteps straight to Congress. His rich daddy, a former congressman and career politician himself, handed Mike the keys to a company with dozens of employees, making multimillionaire Mike richer, while real truckers did the actual work. Maybe that's why Trump likes him so much.
Mike Collins, Mike Collins, Mike Collins.
And it might be why in Congress, he's looked out for the richest 1% and big corporations instead of ordinary hard-working Georgians.
Well, hello, New York!
Like when he voted to double health insurance premiums for more than 1 million Georgians in order to give the wealthiest Americans and corporations another tax break. Or when he voted against releasing the Epstein files, covering for Trump and other powerful men. He even admitted Trump was in the files.
Yeah, I'm sure he's in there.
And it doesn't stop there. Mike's put his chief of staff, Brandon Phillips' girlfriend, on payroll for apparently no work and routed hundreds of thousands of your taxpayer dollars into Brandon's pocket. So what has Mike done for Georgian families and workers? People like you and me? A whole lot of nothing. From the grocery store to the gas pump, Mike has made life more expensive for all of us. He supported and voted to protect Trump's tariffs, fueling record inflation while cutting taxes for the ultra-rich.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
You see, Mike's not a working trucker. He's a man who wrote his daddy's name from business to Congress. A politician who voted to hike our health care costs and defund rural hospitals so he could take care of billionaires and himself. A lackey who's in lockstep with all of Trump's chaos. So the next time your grocery bill climbs, you pay more to fuel your car, or your kid's school loses funding. You can thank Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Great job you're doing.
Well, that's the way you do it, Rebecca.
So wait, let me get this straight, Roland. So when he campaigns, he grows out his hair and he has like a shag mullet. Is that what's happening? Because each time you showed him at a campaign rally, I saw mullet in the back.
I'm out here working hard, driving trucks. I'm just I forget the fact that my daddy handed me the business, and forget the fact that I ain't driven the damn truck. Other folks do it, but I'm just out here hard. I'm surprised he didn't go put some dirt on his hands and some grease.
So, like, you know, even in the Midwest, especially when we would have the presidential candidates show up, and then all of a sudden you'll see all these ads or you'll see these direct mailers, and they're standing in the middle of a cornfield, just looking off in the distance like they're contemplating life. And what's crazy is no one just stands in the middle of a cornfield. That's not what happens in Nebraska. That's not what happens in Iowa. And so this is what's going on right now. People are hurt. We know inflation is high. We know unemployment is high, especially in Black communities. At a gut level, people know when they're being lied to. And one of the things that we routinely see is that there's a lot of things that's coming out this administration, especially around voting rights, to make it tougher for people to have their voices heard. And so what's interesting, you're looking at this type of, that's like a contrast ad. Where it's literally, well, no, it's not a contrast ad. It's a defining ad. And so when you run a campaign, part of the strategy is to define your opponent before your opponent has the opportunity to define themselves. And so just showing that he's more of a Wall Street guy than an actual Georgia guy, you know what, this might be very well effective because people know that they're hurting. They want answers. They want to hear from candidates that are actually being responsive with solutions. And, you know, we even see that with all of the movement that's happening in Georgia right now. We're even seeing that some of the Republican lawmakers in Georgia wanted to do some massive redistricting, eliminating many Black seats in Georgia. And then because of the public outcry, we're seeing that they're no longer going to do that for 2028. They were actually poised right now to do some heavy redistricting. And so, look, we need as many people as possible to pay attention, get active, hold your electeds accountable, because you can actually move things. You can actually make changes now, not just in November. We need people to show up in November, but right now you can start making change in your community. But that's a very effective ad.
Turnout is going to be critically important, Robert. Ossoff announced that he and Lance Bottoms are going to be both running together, fully embracing her. You've got people who are critical of her tenure as Atlanta mayor, who supported others. But what I always say, when the primary is over, you got to come together and defeat your enemy. Give us a sense of what do you think? Is it doable? Is it doable for Democrats to hold that Senate seat? Warnock, of course, beat back that idiot Herschel Walker in 2022. How do you see this election, and what are these campaigns going to do in order to drive that Black vote in Georgia?
Well, I think it's important that what we're seeing with Ossoff and Bottoms is similar to what we saw with Ossoff and Warnock in the 2020 campaign, that you have demographic issues where they can interchange. You have white voters who are often very socially and economic conservative, even if they are on the Democratic side of the aisle. For years, there was this joke in Georgia, you had the Democratic Party and then the Black Party, and occasionally they will vote on similar issues. So Ossoff gives Bottoms a way in to speak to some of those audiences. She's very known within 285, but has to work on her name recognition, her campaigning outside of the city. Very often, Atlanta candidates carry a very Atlanta of spirit with them when they travel to the rest of the state. I'm hoping Ossoff can help to open some of those doors for Bottoms and introduce her to some of those communities. At the same time, for Ossoff, look, you're going to have the population centers where African Americans are at turn out in 2020, 2012 numbers in order for to push him across the finish line. You're going to need Georgia, or you're going to need Atlanta, Macon, Savannah, Columbus, Albany, Fort Valley, Augusta, Athens. You need them turning out in massive numbers. And Keisha Lance Bottoms has rock star energy in many of these locations. She's able to draw crowds. She has a magnetic personality. She has a great smile. She has wonderful policies. She has the resume that is needed that appeals to those audiences. So when you're bringing John Ossoff along with you, you're ginning up enthusiasm around him and introducing him to communities where maybe they would not have looked so deeply into the campaign. This is going to be a base versus base election. Who can turn out their base? And on the Republican side of the aisle, you very much have a fractured Republican Party with Rick Jackson, the billionaire, who's now admitted to having illegal immigrants working at his business and in his home. Burt Jones asked, do you have illegal immigrants working for you right now? He says, I don't know. He has a story of outsourcing, of destroying communities and businesses, private equity, everything that you would expect from an evil billionaire. And I think that creates an opportunity, particularly when many people had no idea who Rick Jackson was before this election, for Bottoms to very much become the first African-American female governor of this state. And at the same time, for Ossoff to fend off Collins, who is one of the more extreme members of the MAGA coalition, and in any regular year would have no opportunity even at getting the Senate nod. I mean, if Brian Kemp had run for Senate, there's no way Collins will be the nominee. So we're seeing very strong opportunities, but they're going to have to put the boots on the ground. Listen to people who are running campaigns in Georgia. Do not bring DC, San Francisco, New York consultants in. Listen to the community organizer, put boots on the ground, and say winnable state.
It also means, and I've said this consistently, that Democratic donors are going to have to put the money on the ground, Joy, in Georgia, in North Carolina, especially those two. You've got some serious issues with Graham Plantner in Maine. That's a critical state for them to win. You've got concerns in Iowa. They're not happy with the Republicans, especially those farmers. You got the Senate race in Alaska. You, of course, got the Texas race, Tallarico, versus the corrupt Attorney General Ken Paxton. And then you also potentially might have Florida. But what is going to take, it is going to take, frankly, candidates ignoring these white consultants, these largely white male consultants, and not try to put all your money into television. It's going to have to be strongly digital, but also on the ground.
Absolutely. And you're going to have to start hiring the people who are leaders within that community. I really don't know what is so difficult about it. They have to know that their neighbors, their friends, the people that they already see in their communities are activated for these candidates. You also are going to have to invest in some of those down ticket candidates. I don't know as much about North Carolina, but I will tell you, in Georgia, there are so many amazing Black women candidates who are going to drive people out to the polls. There are amazing people running who are not some of the big names that, you know, white donors might be, or wealthy donors, whatever their race, might be investing in, but who have strong constituencies that people want to see in their roles. And so those people are also going to help. So when they go out, they may be unsure about John Ossoff. They may be unsure about Keisha Lance Bottoms. That may be crazy, but they might be. But they're going to be there anyway for some of those down ticket people that they care about. They cannot ignore some of those lower, prioritized races, those lower ticket races, because they are so important in these places where people are very invested in their local community. We at the national level are very, vested in these gubernatorial level, statewide races, federal races, and that's important. But people who are on the ground, especially in Georgia, very, very focused on their, the folks that are going to be closest to them, because they're also the people that they know the best and that they have most proximity to and can hold accountable. So we gotta, in those parts, it's about creating a constellation that supports state leadership. We know that we're going to be stuck with Trump over the next 2 years. We want to take back the House. We want to take back the Senate, but we also have to make sure that we are taking back our state legislators or legislatures and at least closing the gap, where we can, and creating a scenario in the case of the Attorney General that can fight back. That is what, people get that. People are very smart. So I think the Democratic Party, I hope, or the D-TRIP, the DSCC, they will do exactly what you're saying. Focus on people on the ground. Focus on people who can turn out their neighbors, not hearing white people, white consultants tell you, or even Black consultants, but who are in DC and not connected with the community, tell you what should be happening on the ground. Let them tell us.
Rebecca.
Yeah, and to Joy's point, talking more about North Carolina, there's certain issues that are happening in North Carolina that local people are talking about. They're talking about rising energy costs under Duke Energy. They're talking about data centers and whether or not data centers should actually be in Black communities. And they're also talking about voting rights. People have to understand that when the governor's seat, the lieutenant governor's seat, when the Secretary of State seat became Democratic, we saw that the supermajority in the state legislature decided that they were going to put the state board of elections and all of the county board of elections under the state auditors. Under the auspices of the state auditor's office. Tell me how that makes sense, that it wouldn't be under the governor or it wouldn't be under the Secretary of State's office, but those seats are currently being held by Democrats versus the auditor is being held by a Republican. And so we're even hearing in Guilford County, or actually, in Jackson County, where Asheville, North Carolina is, Republican Board of Election members said that they were getting pressure from the state auditors to close down early voting centers, early polling locations on college campuses. And so we are hearing from people on the ground, and we're hearing about some of the issues that they care about. And so for any candidate, for anyone, you have to listen to what people, like what Joy said, you have to listen to what people on the ground are talking about, what they're saying. And in North Carolina, they're concerned about their rights.
Absolutely. All right, folks, got to go to a break. Let's do this here. Let's continue talking about what Georgia did. with these Republicans when it comes to the redrawing of state lines. Now, Robert, the thing here is that protests were taking place today. There were folks who were in the state capitol. Y'all rolled that video. And what you see, there was even one point where folks were, as Republicans were talking at the microphone, they were chanting Black Voters Matter. Roll this, turn the audio up. Now, Robert, there are actions taking place all week. Of course, that was today. There's going to be a Juneteenth parade at the King Center at 10 a.m. on Saturday. On Monday, People Over Maps Day at Central Presbyterian Church in Atlanta as well. That's going to be 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. All of this is coming out, of course, all roads lead to the South when we were there in Montgomery last month. And bottom line is this here. This is the type of pressure that, one important, raises attention. You're able to collect data, and it's about turning people out in November. Now, the Republican Speaker of the House, they still are trying to work through something. So it's not guaranteed that they will hold off on redrawing maps, because what they were talking about doing is targeting 2 black districts and up to 25 state seats.
And Roland, I think that the important point that you're making is the idea of bringing attention to this. Look, right now in Atlanta, the World Cup is going on. You have festivals. It's the summertime. People are not paying attention to politics right now. And that's why it's crucial for us, the people who do know, as my professor Johnny Wilson would say, the ability to translate the original language to the ordinary language is the idea of you being out in these streets, making sure people know what is going on. What these Republicans are attempting to do is that under the cover of darkness, while people are not paying attention to the political process, changing the way that we vote fundamentally, essentially rigging the rules of the game to make it easier for them to win. If they could win normally, they would just put out policies and people would flock to them in order to be able to support them. They should be putting up barricades to stop people from wanting to come to support their policies if they had good policies. But no, instead, they're doing everything possible to, instead of having the people choose their choose their representatives, they want the representatives to choose their voters. So right now, we need everyone. We need this all hands on deck. If you're on social media, you need to be posting about this. If you're on television, you need to be talking about this. If you're on radio, you need to be speaking about this. If you're on the internet, you need to be writing about this. And I have a challenge for our people who are content creators, etc. I want the same attention that we pay the celebrity gossip and the social media challenges to be paid to issues such as voting rights, because those are the things that really matter going forward. All the artists who decided to perform at Mar-a-Lago in the last couple of years, I feel like you have an extra responsibility to be talking about these issues of voting, not just in Georgia and in Atlanta, but nationwide. The responsibility is ours to protect the advances that happened 50 years ago that allowed us to be who we are today. We are the first generation poised to drop the baton and allow our people to be pushed backwards. We can't allow that to happen. And that comes from doing things such as what we saw today and what we're seeing throughout this weekend, raising awareness and pushing back against what these people are attempting to do in the dead of night, which is to remove the rights and the hard-fought victories we have won over the course of the last 150 years.
Listen, Rebecca, we made perfectly clear to people when the Calais decision came down, this was not going to be just Congress, that it was going to be state seats, county seats, city council, Supreme Court seats. And so that's how significant that ruling was. And the only way to fight back is with that ballot.
You know what, Roland? Yes, we fight back with the ballot. And I know some people say, oh, well, voting doesn't solve everything. And you're right, voting doesn't solve everything. So once people get in office, then you do accountability. You show up to the commissioner meetings. You show up to the school board meetings. You show up to the state legislature and show up to hearings. You still have to be actively and present in there. The reason why we emphasize voting rights is because one of the hallmarks of being a citizen, a full citizen in this country, is your ability to vote for representation in this country. That's why we focus on voting rights here, because if we see erosion of voting rights in Black communities, what you're seeing is an erosion of full citizenship in communities. So I need people to really understand that. As much as we hear some celebrities and people we know in our everyday lives saying that they don't do politics, or one of my uncles say he doesn't do politricks. Okay, cool. Well, politics and politics is going to do you. This is about whether or not you get to be a full citizen in this country. And if you don't care about being a full citizen in this country, I don't know what to tell you.
Absolutely. Joy.
I mean, Rebecca and Robert are absolutely correct. I mean, at the end of the day, we also need all of our groups. And Roland, you talk about this a lot. I do too. If you are a Black sorority, fraternity, whatever group, civic group, whatnot, church, we need you to not just be telling your people to vote, but we need you to be turning your resources towards making sure they get to the polls. Many people say they're going to vote. They may even be registered to vote, but they haven't checked their registration. So they may be purged and not realize it until it's too late, or they just get busy and they don't go vote. You have to make sure they are over prepared. If they need a license, make sure they have that. They need ID, make sure they have that. Nothing should get in our way. Rebecca is right. This is it. This is it. We will have another 2 years, if not more, of this foolishness if we do not stand up to, this authoritarian leader in the White House, this person who is only for poor, wealthy white men and not for anyone else, creating more trillionaires, but shrinking the middle class and making people more impoverished than they were before. This is it. So if you're angry, if you've been tweeting, if you've been laughing, if you've been frustrated, it doesn't matter what you've done thus far. It only matters what you do in late October, if you're doing early voting in November. That's it. Whatever tricks they are doing, we have to try to get out in front of them, to get out in front of this. If you need your Medicaid, if you are angry about the work requirements and the all of the things that we've been talking about tonight and over the last couple of years, this is the time. And so, we need to be focused on getting the willing to the polls. I'm always appalled at how not enough of our focus is on making sure people actually show up, making sure that they have rides to the polls, and of course following with the laws, but making sure they can get there, that there is absolutely nothing. And if you are a corporation and you are not speaking out against the people who, your customers being able to have their right to vote, you should not have any customers. We got to get that serious about it. If you are a school in a state that's disenfranchising people, you should not be getting any of our ticket sales, any of our purchases of your materials, and you certainly shouldn't be getting any sports stars. They can go elsewhere. We have got to get so serious about it. We've got to at least be as serious as they are about disenfranchising us.
Absolutely. All right, folks, going to a break. We come back. Obama Presidential Center opens tomorrow. We'll tell you which presidents will be there and who will not. Smelly diaper man won't be there. Lots more to talk about. Don't forget to support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network by contributing to our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 people contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. It goes to support this show, the 5 other shows on the network. That's hugely important for the work that we do because, again, we don't have these billionaires, right wing. You got the people out here cutting them big checks to do what they do. We don't have that, so your support is crucial. For Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com for the ways to give. As for credit cards as well, checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back. Folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
Hey, yo, what's up? This is Mr. Dalvin right here. What's up? This is KC. Sitting here representing the Jodeci. That's Jodeci. Right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks. In Georgia, Columbus, Georgia, got their first black mayor in his 158-year history. That's right. Isaiah Hughley was elected as the city's 71st mayor. He defeated city council member Joanne Coggle in last night's runoff election, receiving 51.6%. The victory marks a major milestone for Columbus and a significant political comeback for Hughley. His platform united voters throughout the campaign, focused on addressing poverty, youth violence, and affordable housing. Following the win, he celebrated with supporters and said this here.
I need you. I need you. The people spoke loud and clearly tonight about the kind of future we want for Columbus, Georgia. And what we want is not what we've been getting. Columbus, are you ready for change? Columbus, are you ready for unity? Are you ready to move Columbus, Georgia beyond the chaos? Are you ready to move this city beyond the divide? Are you ready to move this city beyond the lies, the misinformation, the lack of civility, the lack of dignity and respect for our employees and our citizens? The lack of dignity must cease. Are you ready to support Isaiah Hughley as the next mayor, the 71st mayor of Columbus, Georgia?
Folks, this is a political comeback for him. He was fired as Columbus city manager after more than 4 decades in the city government. Man, that tells you a whole lot right there. So congratulations to Isaiah Hughley. All right, folks. We talk about, earlier I said about Georgia, how farming is a huge part of Georgia's economy, especially when it comes to rural folks. And guess what? They're not having a very good time. We focus a lot on this show of the impact on farmers all across this country. Now, according to Farm Aid, at the turn of the 20th century, black farmers own approximately 16 to 19 million acres of land, which accounted for roughly 1.8% of the nation's total farmland to 1910. In the present day, it has dropped to less than 3 million acres, representing 0.3% of the farmland. When I was talking to John Boyd, he talked about how bankruptcies and rising prices are contributing to this, as the decline of estimated of loss of land has cost black farmers and their families more than $326 billion in lost wealth. And so you still see what's going on. You're talking about economic stability is critically important. All these things are important. Wayne Swanson Jr. of Swanson Family Farms He's committed to ensuring that his farm remains within his family. He joins us now from Atlanta. Wayne, glad to have you here. We've talked to John. We've talked to people in Mound Bayou, and others. And the reality is what is happening with these fertilizer prices, Donald Trump's tariffs. We saw this the first time he was there. It is causing significant harm. And not only that, you're also trying to beat back these corporate interests who also want to demolish these family farms.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, Roland. You're talking about the input crisis that we're going through right now. Most farms and most agricultural enterprises, the cost to operate is far exceeding the profits.
And so how are y'all uniting and working together to help one another?
Well, one is making sure that we all have access to markets, sharing access to marketing, and then making sure that we are sharing with customers how to reach us directly. We can get rid of the middleman in certain situations. That brings more profit directly to the farm. So we want to make sure that we can get farm direct to consumer, consumer direct to farm. And we also do that through some of our 501c3 work. We have a farm tour group called the Georgia Black-Owned Farm Tour. And we take people to the farms so that they can see the different iterations of farms, farms, not just tourist farms or agritourism farms.
Obviously, when we talk about the ability to make money, I mean, profit margins are also extremely low. And so, I mean, you're having to watch every buck. And when you start talking about planting crops, weather plays a huge role in that. Storms, hurricanes, you name it. Drought, flood.
Well, we've got to also look at we also have to look at our processes. So I am what we call a regenerative farmer. So I don't believe in bare soil. I want to make sure that there's something covering the ground. We call those cover crops. I graze cover crops. If I have friends that are planting, I have a friend, Julius Tillery of Black Cotton US. He's a 5th generation cotton grower. He's now instituting cover crops. So it's less diesel, it's less work. And then you have a value added product that can go on when you're not harvesting. So we have to think differently. We cannot think the way the farmers of the 40s and 50s have thought. And that's what happened is everybody got used to the subsidies, the commodities, and they got stuck. And those people never learned how to do a balance sheet. They never learned about average cost of goods sold. They don't know how to market. And it became a bottleneck. And we're here to say that we can farm as a business the way other businesses do. We just need to sit down and do some spreadsheets and get some training.
That's talking about moving to the 21st century. Resources are critically important as well. And we've seen that black farmers have been fighting tooth and nail with USDA to get resources.
Yeah, sometimes you got to go around them. Sometimes you have to find a farmer that is doing what you want to do and sit with them for a while. Sometimes you have to go to groups that aren't grant dependent. We know that it's important to get those tax dollars back, but there are some farms out here, black-owned farms, that are not government dependent. My grandfather was one of them. He just always told me, why do you trust them? I get it that we can, but there's a lot more farmers, black farmers that have land that don't register with the USDA. They're coming along. But my 80-year-old dad, this is the first year, last year was the first year that he took anything from the NRCS. And I had to convince him to do that. We just want some buckwheat as cover crop. But there are a lot of farms who don't, and they congregate together and make sure that they have what's needed and make sure that the market is ready for them and that they can get to the market.
Questions from my panel. I'll start with you, Joy.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. How are black farmers partnering, if at all, with white farmers who are having, the same sort of reaction and issues? I mean, of course, it's deeper for us to what Trump has been doing. Has there been any coming together, as many of them have been affected and have been very angry by the actions of the president?
I think those who want to come together can. I can give you my example. I have a lease at my processing facility, which keeps me from driving. I think I put 300,000 miles on a 5-year car. It keeps me from driving from field to the processor. I have a lease with them. They're a legacy white family. They own the processing facility. but I bring them consistent animals to process, so they know that there's going to be some dollars there. And we're having conversations in community. I went to their county commissioners meeting and talked about wanting to put a facility in that town. So that got me in touch with the development authority. Now I'm talking and working with the development authority. It's there. I won't work with somebody who is, don't want to work with me. But if you want to work with me, I'm here to work with you.
Robert.
Hey, Wayne, how you doing?
Hey, Tio, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Doing great. Good to see you. So, back when I ran the Black Farmers Initiative for Rainbow Push, we talked all the time on some of the calls about the work that the federal government could do to help open markets for Black farmers. Now, clearly, the administrations have changed. There are different priorities with the new administration when it comes to Black farmers. But I think the issue of opening markets, particularly in Black communities, to Black farmers still exists. What do you think can be done by, we talked about this before. You have big cities where you have food deserts, lack of fresh produce, lack of fresh meats, vegetables, etc., organic foods, which results in people eating, hot Cheetos and ramen noodles as their sources of nutrients and calories, which leads to chronic health conditions and obesity in our community. It's a cycle. So we can break that cycle by inserting Black farmers in. It helps the Black farmers by creating new markets for their products. It helps the community by creating healthy foods. And also it helps our young people by getting them interested in and creating a pipeline for them to get into agriculture. But if you are a community member, if you are a church or a civic organization, if you own a big shopping center, we have a big empty parking lot, what can those people do to connect with Black farmers in their area to create things such as weekend farmers markets or co-ops or opportunities where folks from the rural communities come and sell their products and folks from the urban environments be able to buy?
First, we gotta be realistic about the situation. We have to understand that everything that's sitting as a farm isn't a farm for production.
Mm-hmm.
We've allowed people who may have a tourist farm to be in the food conversation. And what I've done with the Georgia Black-owned farm tours and with a project that I'm invested in, a grocery store in Atlanta, Nourish and Bloom Markets, I think we're opening up our fourth or fifth store, is I supply the market. But we also had to realize we can't have the footprint of a Publix. We have to be realistic about what processing looks like for Black farmers. We can't wish it away. I had to put some money up. I had to invest. And then I had to look at it and say, well, look, we can't be the size of Publix, but give me 2 aisles. Give me 2 freezers. And let's start there and then direct our people. Our people are starving to buy from us. We just have to sit down and develop a mechanism that we can get farm products from the farm to the market in regular intervals. And then we have to train the customers to understand if it's real, it can't always be on the shelf. If it's real. If you want real food, it can't always be in stock. It has to be a season. There's going to have to be something that's out because we've got to grow some things. And once people start to grasp that, now we can do something. Now we can feed you because now you're eating staple foods. And we're not trying to get, I'm sure there are places that'll do it. I'm not trying to give you Gouda, spinach, stuffed sausage. I'm trying to give you sausage. What you do with it at home is up to you. I want to give you staple foods that you can make a meal with. And if we can do that, we can fill shelves and we can get rid of some of the tacos and Cheetos and the hot stuff because we have real food. And with our churches and with other NGOs, we have to implore them to understand that this is not the hot topic. This is food. This is nourishment. Food is medicine. Let us help people become more healthy. The only way we can help people become more healthy is if we allow the people who actually do the work to stand up and have the conversation. And we'll have 1 million seminars, but at some point we got to get dirty. At some point we got to figure out these transportation lanes. At some point we have to figure out what I have to do to be certified so that I can, for food safety, that I can get my food onto a shelf. And then I have to go out and find other partners because I don't have enough land or space to feed everybody. So I've got to do a bunch of leases with people. And then as a consultant, I have to train them on what we need to get this product to market. But I also first need to know that you love animals and that you love people. Because if you don't love people, our people specifically, this ain't going to work because you're going to think this is a business and all you're going to do is sell widgets. No, we selling legacy. We're selling medicine. and we're selling history. So that's what I see about it.
Rebecca?
It almost sounds like you're saying if we had cooking classes and people learn how to cook again, they will understand the need to actually cook using whole foods instead of some of the processed things that you talked about. What do you see as some of the opportunities in the moment for Black farmers?
Aggregation. We're not alone. We've been, we don't trust each other. We all need therapy, right? You've been in this system in America. The Confederates did their job on us. But we need therapy. We need to know that we have to trust my brother who may have 100. I got a cousin I just found out got 185 acres in Middle Georgia. Just found out. He didn't want to talk to me because he didn't know what kind of farmer I was. Now we're talking. And it's now the opportunity to say, all right, what do you need? How can I help you? And sometimes you got to pay some bills or pay some taxes. Everybody, it's not all of a kumbaya. It's business. And some people who are in the conversation aren't willing to put any money up. Other people are waiting for a grant. It's here, but are you ready? Do you have a business plan? And again, back to your original point, can we get nutrient-dense food to the people? We don't need to teach them how to cook. We need to get the food to them. They will cook it. The food is the issue, not the cooking of it. How they decide to cook it is totally up to them. We just need to get them the food so they can start working with the food. And secondary, we need to get them growing something at home so they can be a part of that process. They don't have to grow enough to feed their families. We just want them to grow enough to supplement the staple food items. Grow a couple of tomatoes so that you can make a hamburger and slice the tomato. Grow some salad so you can make a salad along with whatever you're eating at the grocery. Just get that little bit of initiative changes your palate. Another thing we do at one of the schools that I support, Chattahoochee Hills Charter Schools, we'll shout out headmaster, the principal, Patrick Muhammad, the principal farmer. They're having tastes. So they got the whole campus is edible. So now we're changing the children's palate. So instead of it all being Cheetos, we let them test the blueberries. We let them taste the lemon balm. We make sure that they have these experiences. We don't have to hit a home run. We can win the game with singles. But we have to take steps.
Got it. If people want to reach out to you to learn more about what you're doing and how they can also do what you talk about, where should they go?
Swanson Family Farm, LLC.com. You can Google Farmer Wayne, Swanson Family Farm, Instagram, TikTok, all the socials, Swanson Family Farm.
All right. Wayne, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, going to a break. We come back. We'll talk about the story of Mississippi, where protests are taking place after a 1-year-old was shot by cops in an alleged shoplifting incident. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Jamia Pugh. I am from Coatesville, Pennsylvania, just an hour right outside of Philadelphia.
My name is Jasmine Pugh. I'm also from Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
Folks, we started as an alleged shoplifting incident in Mississippi turned into the tragic death of a one-year-old black boy. The Senatobia, Mississippi police officer, first of all, let's walk with you what happened, okay, first and foremost. Cops were called and allegation that someone was shoplifting. Cops show up. They see two adults walking out with a child, get into a car. All of a sudden, cops fire into the car. Now, the woman in the car is saying there's a child inside. Doesn't matter. The cops still fire. As a result, this one-year-old kid, I mean, just beyond tragic, is shot and killed, who's in the car. As a result, protests have been taking place since then for Cohen Wiley. That's the young man right there. That cop involved is now on leave. And again, this took place on Sunday, June 14th. And so cops, again, they counter these two adults and a child getting to the vehicle. Mississippi Bureau of Investigation said the driver then drove in the direction of the officers, nearly striking one of them. That's when an officer fired his weapon and the vehicle fled the scene. The vehicle later arrived at a local hospital where Wiley was pronounced dead. Another person in the car suffered critical injuries. The mother of Alicia Wiley claimed she showed officers her one-year-old was in the car just moments before the officer fired shots, killing her. Cohen's family is calling for Wiley's family is calling for the release of the officer's body cam video and the Walmart surveillance video. Here is an interview with the mother that Ben Crump posted on social media.
Marcus Keith. Valicia Wiley lost her son to the negligence of law enforcement in Senatobia, Mississippi. Can you please tell what happened?
It was me, my son, and another friend of mine who was at Walmart. As we was leaving out the Walmart, they tried to stop her, but I kept walking because it had nothing to do with me. By the time me and my baby got in the car, she came, and then when we was backing up, they was running out the come. I raised my baby up because they withdrawed their gun. She had no tent. I raised my baby up trying to show them that he was in the car. So she was backing up and she hit a car as I was opening the door, so the door flew back in. By the time I sat my baby down, it was like 3 to 4 shots. One of the shots hit him in his rib cage, and the other shots hit her in her arm and her thigh. And we left and went to Senatobia Hospital where he was pronounced dead at the scene. And they told me I wasn't going to be able to see him until he get back from Jackson. She got airlifted, and the police told me I couldn't leave out the hospital until somewhere I couldn't leave out, couldn't nobody come in. But I ended up walking out, and the crowd was questioning them, asking them what happened. They was like, she was shoplifting. But the passenger, it was me. They wasn't talking about me, they was talking about the driver. But on the little, what's it called, self-checkout, they can see, it's cameras, they can see when she got the diapers and walked out. But yeah, they tried to say that she forcefully was trying to drive and hit them, but they was all on the right side, and she was driving towards the left. They just personally just shot in the car.
Did they try to charge you with anything?
No, they didn't charge me. They ain't charged me with nothing. They just let me go. And they didn't say nothing. They just kept telling the crowd that they was shoplifting. But I don't know if they found anything because there's nothing to find.
Okay.
Folks, Ben Crump, the family attorney, is going to be joining us at 7:45. Go to my panel here, Robert. This is, it is still perplexing to me. If Walmart calls the cops, they say someone allegedly shoplifting. And then here we go again, reminds me of what happened in Minneapolis. Oh, the car was charging at the officer, and then the officers began shooting. Even though the officers observed the adults coming out and a child was with them, what I don't understand is, why would you shoot at the car? All you gotta do is follow the car.
And this is part of the reason that we don't see these things happen in other countries, because other countries don't give every police officer a car or a gun. Normally, you have to be part of a special unit in order to have a gun in other countries, where you give literally anybody who doesn't even need to take college courses in some cases a gun. You have things like this happen. This is clearly wildly negligent what officers did. This is wildly inappropriate to fire into a vehicle not knowing who is in it or what is in it. The first thing they teach you when you go to the shooting range, for example, they tell you don't point your gun at anything unless you want to kill or destroy it. Assume that anything you're aiming at, there's something behind it. This is the basics of guns 101 were violated in this situation, and my heart goes out to the family, my heart goes out to the community. But we have to change the way that we police Black communities. You can steal an aircraft carrier and they won't shoot at you, but if you are shoplifting diapers at Walmart, you get shot by the cops. Think about the folks on January 6th who were able to raid the entirety of the White House with impunity and got pardons, but this is the way we police Black communities. This is why we have to go back to President Obama's 21st century framework on law enforcement and go back to this idea, not this Trump law and order ideology, but on this idea of going back to community-based policing and actually having restorative justice ideas. So instead of shooting at somebody over diapers, you're actually able to, one, protect the store and their property, but also protect life and enforce the law without having to escalate situations.
I'll tell you what, Rebecca, the protests have been consistent. Police officers have pulled out gas as well. Y'all can show some of that video, please. And folks there, they want answers. Rebecca?
You know, Roland, we've talked about this for years. And I made it clear definitely what my position is when it comes to so-called law enforcement in this country. If we're looking for law enforcement to respond to behavioral health crises, law enforcement isn't appropriate for that. If we're looking for law enforcement to respond to shoplifting, assuming that shoplifting, we know shoplifting didn't occur here. Here's the thing. You have detectives who can do that. I mean, they have video footage. I mean, we're so we're such a surveillance state in this country. There's cameras everywhere, right? They have a camera of her, of the driver at the checkout lane. There's cameras outside of Walmart. There's cameras on the way to her home in Mississippi, because there's so many cameras everywhere in this country. So then you assign it to a detective to then go look at the license plate, show up at her house, ask the questions, you know, and then she shows the proof of purchase. Okay, great. But this idea of even policing in Black communities, like, Robert, I hear you, but this isn't working. This isn't working. We know why we have police departments in this country. They were former slave catchers. You know, even when we see ICE in modern times, it's almost like slave catchers, watching them round up so-called immigrants, so-called vermin and illegal aliens in this country. That's modern slave catching that we're watching. There's no reform. I mean, it's not just that they shot a 1-year-old child, they shot a baby. They shot a baby. They saw that there was a baby in that car and they shot a baby. They shot to kill and they killed. They killed a baby. Where is Walmart? What is Walmart saying? This is their store, right? Is it always their policy to ignore all the camera footage that they have and instead invite law enforcement that we know has been very violent to these very communities, to Black communities in this country? What is Walmart's official position here? Does Walmart stand with the killing of this baby, the killing of this child? Where are all the pro-life people? Do they stand with the killing of this baby? Doesn't this baby have rights? You know, there's a lot of hypocrisy here, but policing in Black communities isn't the answer here.
Joy?
And we also need to end qualified immunity. Training isn't it. The problem with, yes, we want 21st century better policing. Absolutely. We want what Rebecca is talking about, different types of people to provide interventions. But in this case, you know, there would be a police response. What we need is something on the police side to give them pause, to say, if you make this kind of mistake is a mistake that's going to cost your family its generational wealth. It's going to cost the community, not just them, but you are going to be asking people in your community. We're going to want to know, you know, why did you do that? You're not going to be able to go to your church and be comfortable. Your family, your children are going to have people asking questions. You may not have the resources. Your wife is going to be saying, hey, be careful. Don't be quick on the trigger because we want to send little Jimmy to college. That's the kind of thing that we need. No profession. You can just behave irresponsibly and assume that you'll get away with it. Or, you know, you may lose your job, you may move a town over, you know, but the taxpayers will defray the cost. As long as you don't do something completely outside of it, you won't have a criminal charge. And even if you do, chances are there won't be a conviction. That's how the police are almost running roughshod and lawless. They are a modern day slave catcher, to Rebecca's point. We have to figure out, that's something we have not tried. We have got to figure out a way to change a thought process of these people. It's not training. They can't be trained enough because unfortunately we have a sense of lawlessness and there are no consequences. So it doesn't matter what the officer is, Black, white, they may love Black people, but they don't care about us. They may say they do, but they don't care about us. They have they can do whatever they want. That has got to end. Because without that, we'll never have trust in policing. Without that, people, of course, are going to run. Without that, you know, we can't even, if you're a business, you can't even trust that you can call the cops and they're going to have a reasonable response. We also have to accept that if these people were white, the response would have been different. I don't care what race the cop was. The response would have been different. We care more about white people, especially a white woman with a baby. There's no way they would have done this. This is the kind of thing they do to Black people because they do not value our lives. And so if my white friends or anybody out there who's wondering why we say Black Lives Matter, it's because at times like this, it's clear that they do not.
Well, again, about 15 minutes, we'll be hearing from Ben Crump, who is the attorney for the family. Let's go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Net. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, Give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
How you doing? My name is Mark Carey, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Deep into it, like pasteurized milk without the 2%. We getting deep. You want to turn that shit off? We're doing an interview, motherfucker.
On Friday, the nation will commemorate the only federal holiday that acknowledges slavery. Juneteenth is recognized as the day Union troops, along with a lot of black troops, arrived in Galveston, Texas on June 19, 1865 to enforce General Order Number 3. The order announced that all slaves who were free upon the surrender of the last Confederate stronghold. This order arrived 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln's January 1st, 1863 Emancipation Proclamation. Texas officials, racists there, just totally ignored that, and they kept enslaving people. The official end of slavery in America came 6 months after that, on December 6, 1865, with the ratification of the 13th Amendment. Now, a lot of people have talked about Opal Lee being the grandmother of Juneteenth. It's true, but remember, Juneteenth was a state holiday in Texas long before it became a federal holiday. In fact, it was June 7th, 1979, when in the last hour, on the last day of the legislative session, it passed in Texas. That was June 7th, 1979. The person who led that effort was longtime Houston State Representative Al Edwards. He, of course, fought for a number of years to get this to become a state holiday, and it finally happened. So 1980 was the first year it was celebrated as a state holiday in Texas. Over the years, until his death, Representative Edwards traveled around the country talking to other legislatures, telling them how they should make the move as well. Joining us now is his son, Jason Edwards, who is chair and president of the Juneteenth USA. Jason, glad to have you here. Part of this effort with Juneteenth USA is for your father not to be a forgotten person in this, correct?
Yes, thank you for having me on today, Brother Martin. Yes, Juneteenth USA is definitely here to advocate for the holiday, definitely to help nonprofits and for-profit institutions onboard the holiday to increase adoption of the holiday, but also to make sure that Texas history is taught about Juneteenth, and yes, to preserve my father's role in that in all of the rush of the federal holiday was lost, I believe, in that process.
And the reason I think that history is important, I said yesterday, I was at my parents' church in the Dallas area on Sunday, and they had a sister who got up and she gave the history of Juneteenth, and I was sitting there leaning on my mom. I was like, how she leave out? It was a Texas holiday. And when the service was over, I walked up there. We actually happened to go to Texas A&M together. And she's not a native of Texas. And I said, hey, you left out something important, that it was a state holiday. She had no idea that it was a state holiday in Texas. And when I listen to these people complain about Juneteenth, I'm like, y'all need to understand, y'all can yell and complain, but understand that this was a Texas thing. That's why June 19, 1865 is so important. And what then began to happen was other African Americans in other states. It spread to Louisiana. It then spread to Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, other states as well, when people began to learn about it. So it has always been unique to Texas because of the circumstances.
That's very true. I mean, all of what you said is exactly correct. The holiday, when the holiday passed, Dad started Juneteenth USA in 1979. And I tell people when I speak to corporations, he didn't create Juneteenth Texas. He didn't create Juneteenth Third Ward, where I grew up. He created Juneteenth USA, Juneteenth for the United States. And so the idea that that Juneteenth needed to be a federal holiday was his dream from the very beginning. And so his process of getting other states to adopt the holiday became evident to me when I was in college, because I would call him, and during Senate, he would be in New Mexico or he'd be in Missouri. And he would say, I'd say, Dad, why are you in Missouri? He'd say, boy, I got this holiday passed in Missouri and they're picking up the legislation. So I'm speaking on the House floor. And so what happened was when Dad finally, we had to take him out of the public eye due to a car accident, as you're aware. 45 states in the union were celebrating Juneteenth as a state holiday. That was before any of the leaders that are involved with Juneteenth today started their activities. And so I always tell people I appreciate what Miss Lee has done because she played an integral role. We had to pull Dad from the public eye before she started her walks around the country and around the state of Texas. And so, but the beautiful thing about how it all worked together, she was walking in states where Dad had already gotten the bill passed while she was still a school teacher in Dallas. And so she picked up when his health failed and brought what I call the power of the people to the holiday. There's three forms of power: political power, power of the people, and financial power. And she brought that power of the people attention to it, but the political path had been laid over a 40-year period before 1990. Before 2020, when I believe she said in a documentary she got involved. But it was very important what she did. I commend anyone who's 90 years old that gets out in the Texas heat to do anything. And picking up Juneteenth and advocating for it was very special to watch her.
And again, I think what's critical here, what you just said, that 45 states had already began to celebrate Juneteenth. And so that groundwork had been laid, that been paved for it to go federal and for the national holiday. And one of the things that I've said since it became a federal holiday, that it was just critically important for people to learn about the history of it, because it really pissed me off when it happened. I saw these black people on social media. Didn't nobody ask for this? And I'm like, y'all don't know what the hell y'all talking about. And it was actually offensive to a whole lot of black folks from Texas.
Yeah. So I saw some of that energy, and Dad used to tell us this term about politicking when we were growing up. Anytime he was doing anything regarding politics, and Brother Martin, you've known him forever and has seen a lot of his political actions before he passed in his 27 years. The holiday is one of the tools in the quiver of making sure the United States honors our ancestors. The process, if as a community we watch the process of Americans having to pause, tell their kids, digest, recognize, and commemorate the impact that American-born citizens that were enslaved by its own government made an impact on this country, and not just breeze past it. Dad was inspired to make this a holiday because we would go from, I believe, Memorial Day and breeze right past to 4th of July. And our history was sitting right there in Texas, but it wasn't being recognized.
Well, and I think, again, what I tell people, what Juneteenth forces, it forces everybody to have to, at least once a year, speak to the issue of slavery in this country. And that's also why this date, Juneteenth, is critically important.
Yes. Now, that is probably the most impactful thing. So when people say, to your point, we didn't ask for this, the real point is use the day as a day of leverage, engage, educate. Voters that are educated as to what happened. There are many people who run companies that I'm in partnership with or in business with or in association with that don't know our history and don't know what we did for this country and don't know about the Homestead Act and don't know about a lot of things that happened at the beginning of this country and how when their ancestors came here through Ellis Island, 300 years after we had been 400 years after we had been here building the country and the railroads and the buildings, they participated in the American dream that our ancestors had built. And on top of that, the Homestead Act gave them 182 million acres of American soil to begin their financial base on. So use it as a day to educate, which then affects policy and hopefully affects votes and hopefully affects those who represent us in the halls of Congress.
Well, also, and I think people need to also understand that Juneteenth celebrations in Texas were not just about picnics and parades and barbecues and concerts. No. It was voter registration. It was teaching people. It was doing all of those different things.
Yes. Yeah. So this year, we were really impressed on every speech I give that civic engagement is the top priority. I always tell folks when they say, how do I celebrate the holiday if they're not from our community? And I'll tell them, well, there should be some commemoration. There's definitely celebratory. If you ever touched a tuft of cotton in Texas, in the Texas heat, you remember it. And to have to do that for a lifetime, you have an idea of what our ancestors went through. I'm a descendant of Texas slaves, as many of us that are watching.
Yep.
And, you use that, but also civic engagement. And Brother Martin, I've got a quote from Dad that he used to say after elections, that half of us that are eligible to vote are registered, and half of our registered voters actually show up to the polls. So we're literally fighting with one arm behind our back. And in a world where politics is just policy and the allocation of resources, we're not playing with our whole team on the field.
Yep. Well, and also, and I see some of the people commenting in the chat, and literally, I wish some of y'all would shut the hell up, okay? When we talk about, again, for the people who are not paying attention, okay, it was the enslaved people of African descent in Texas when General Granger showed up in Galveston who said that they were free. Okay?
Right.
Because the Emancipation Proclamation spoke to those who were enslaved in Confederate states. All right? Yeah. That's what they were celebrating. Now, do we know that people were still enslaved in other parts of the country that were not a part of the Confederacy? Yes. Do we know that slavery was outlawed when it was ratified by the states in December? Yes. But the point is, the black folks in Texas celebrated because they were freed because they were a Confederate state. Now, y'all need to stop all this little silliness like, well, it really wasn't this, really wasn't that. So the point is they celebrated their freedom. And so because that happened, then it was, okay, and what y'all also don't seem to understand, all the people running around who keep commenting, all right, well, it should have been in December, whatever, but it's not. And so the whole point was you use Juneteenth to create a national momentum to force America to have to honor enslaved people. Some of y'all getting hung up on the goddamn dates. Seriously, understand the motive and the purpose, please.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And the bigger picture, I always told people it was the United States versus the Confederate States of America. Which was a country. And so the legislation and the history that occurred when General Granger arrived in Texas with, African-American soldiers to help enforce the Emancipation Proclamation, the internet didn't exist. But historically, the Confederate States surrendered, and we got the Emancipation Proclamation, which was the prevailing document, enforced. So that was a celebration. And the theory is until we're all free, we're not, until all of us are free, we're not free. And so adopting that holiday and using it as a cudgel and a day to engage is the larger point of this discussion. But yes, we are aware of all of the history, and illegal slavery still existed in a lot of places beyond the end of slavery as we know it in this country.
And then someone says, well, most states have emancipation days. No, they don't. Most states don't have it. Actually, only about 20 states have emancipation days. Yep. I wish y'all stopped saying shit that can be easily fact-checked. Just saying. Just saying. Well, actually, so one of the things that we did, I totally forgot I had, people send me all kind of stuff. I totally forgot I had this. And so that's why I hung up. Someone sent me actually a Juneteenth flag. And actually hung it up in the studio. Somebody sent me that a few years ago, and I was going through some stuff last night, and I came across it. I was like, yo, let's go ahead and hang that. So we appreciate it, Jason. Where can people get more information on Juneteenth USA?
Oh, thank you. So www.juneteenthusa.org.
All right, then.
JuneteenthUSA.org.
And of course,
that's our website. Yep. And on Instagram, at JuneteenthUSA. On Instagram at JuneteenthUSA.
All right, then. And of course, and it's no shock that your father, Texas State Representative Al Edwards, was an alpha man. That's no shock at all.
Definitely was an alpha man.
Absolutely.
Ice cold from Texas Southern and Pleasant Alpha Eta Lambda, as you know.
There you go. Jason, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I'm gonna have my panel speak on this after Ben Crump has now joined us, and so let me go to him right now. Ben, we were talking about this story out of Mississippi. The police are already coming up with their story saying that the car that was carrying this one-year-old kid almost hit an officer, and that's why he fired. But I was looking on social media, and several people are saying that there's cell phone footage of the incident that shows that was not the case.
Yeah, and that's certainly been articulated by the mother of Corey Wiley, the fact that she said that the car was going away from the police. But even Roland Martin, they were notified that a person was shoplifting for Pampers. Now, this was not our client, not the mother. This was somebody who she was with. But just the fact, if you're taking Pampers, how dangerous can you be? Like, is that something that you use deadly force on? And so it's troubling on many levels, the fact, Roland Martin, that if it were as they said it was, why haven't they released the Walmart parking lot surveillance video? Because we know Walmart got video everywhere.
Right.
Why haven't they released the body cam video? Why haven't they released the dash cam video? You know, be transparent and show us that your officer had to shoot and kill this one-year-old black baby, because we think it was unjustified, and worst of all, it was broad daylight. It was unnecessary. The lady held the baby up saying that I have a baby in the car, and they shot anyway.
I saw one account also that the officers observed two adults leaving with the child out of the store and getting into the car. So if they observed that, they knew that there was a child.
Yeah, man, it's so heartbreaking, Roland. Where are we at in America when Pampers, a water bottle, all these, yes, minimal materialistic things end up costing Black life? It cannot be in a humane society where we say you can kill a baby because somebody took a box of Pampers. You can kill a 14-year-old black boy because you believe he took a bottle of water. And this case is so bad when you think about the fact that they were called by Walmart and told that somebody shoplifted Pampers. And that's, I can't even get over that, Roland Martin. It's so heartbreaking that this beautiful baby boy is taken from this world while he's in his mother's hands over a box of Pampers.
So you talked about calling for the release. So who now is running this investigation? Is the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation?
It is, Roland, and they've released the name of the police officer, and now our office has gotten many calls about where this person they believe used excessive force on other Black people. So I think, you know, they're gonna say it was just.
Looks like we lost Ben Crump there, so hopefully we'll get him back. Let's go to a. Okay, there he is.
Apologize.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I apologize, Roland. They said he had to make this decision because the car was coming at him. That's been disputed, but they say this officer has a history of, excessive force against Black people. So that's why transparency is so important, Roland Martin. That's why we need the Black Star Network and everybody to keep calling for the release of the videos. And now that we know his name, we want to know what is in his jacket.
Absolutely. All right, Ben, always good to see you. Hate under these circumstances.
Thank you so much, Roland Martin. Really appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Let me go to a quick break. We'll come back with our panel right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
My name is Lena Charles, and I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana. Yes, that is Zydeco capital of the world.
My name is Margaret Chappelle. I'm from Dallas, Texas, representing the Urban Trivia Game.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you watch.
Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back. We'll go to my panel here. As I was sitting there talking about Juneteenth with Jason, Rebecca, you were shaking your head, and it really does get on my nerves to listen to some people who just complain about everything. And again, having Juneteenth become a federal holiday really does force the entire country to have to, at least once a year, talk about the institution of slavery in the United States.
Yes, it's important that we have a marker as a way to have conversations. As an example, if you've been on social media for the last couple of weeks, you see that there's a trend of people saying that they're going to dye their hands an indigo blue in honor of the Gullah Geechee people and some of the people in the lowlands who are descendants of those former enslaved in South Carolina. Here's the thing. Is that connected to Juneteenth? No. Is that an actual tradition? That's something that's happened over decades or even centuries? No. But one thing that came out of the discussion online is that in South Carolina, they have their emancipation date. So the purpose of Juneteenth is to be an educational inflection so people can learn more. Because one thing that we understand, especially in this administration, is that there's a real push to remove Black history, to erase the Black people from this country. So that's the point of it. I am a descendant of those who ended slavery in Texas. So my history and connection to Juneteenth is different from other people's history. In fact, my family's town, Pelham, Texas, in 1930, they formed a Juneteenth committee. But even to our guest's point, those early Juneteenth celebrations during Reconstruction was around civic engagement. It was food, it was community, it was people gathering together, it was people honoring ancestors, it was people registering Black men to vote. So all of those things were happening. There were speeches. It was a celebration. It was festive. It was informative. And so let's treat it that way now. It's a celebration. It's informative. It's a way for people to really understand the history in this country. And if you are new to this country, or your family's only been in this country since the last 100 years, this is also an opportunity for you to learn what happened in this country before your family even got here.
I say this, Robert. I've seen some folks say, well, I ain't know nothing about Juneteenth. We didn't celebrate it. Well, guess what? Now your ass should start learning.
Well, look, Roland, this is part of the reason that we have to have broad-based African-American history education in this country. Much of the current administration seems to be hell-bent on making sure no one knows anything that happened before 6 weeks ago. It was important for us to go back and learn our own holidays and traditions. We need to know about Juneteenth. We need to know about John Brown. We need to know about Nat Turner. We need to know internationally about Black revolutions. We have to start seeing our history as not being derivative of European history. We have our own independent ethnic identity. We have our own independent socio-linguistic traditions. We have our own independent religious traditions. It's important for us to see it that way. And for individuals who are interested in having the conversation about reparations, step one is making the American government admit that they had slaves at one point in time, and then admit that that was a wrong thing to do. Now you have established that there was a wrong that has been executed against a people, and that is step one towards actually pushing towards a real conversation about reparations. So Juneteenth is not the end-all, be-all, but it is the step that we need in the right direction, particularly when it comes to a country that is dedicated to pushing this Black history fairy tale that they push every single year, that everything was fine. We were all on the plantation playing the banjo and nobody was complaining. And then all of a sudden the evil Northerners came and forced Reconstruction on everybody. And now we're all happy under Trump. I mean, if you allow them to rewrite history, that is what they will rewrite it to be. So it's important for us to learn these things, to celebrate our ancestors, to understand we did not get here in a bubble. We came here together, we fight together, and where we're going next, we're going to go there together.
Joy.
The reason they don't want us to know our history, the reason they fight so much against critical race theory, or against any factual telling and complete telling of American history, is because they know what that telling of history would require. If you have been holding people down, if you built your wealth off of unpaid labor, there's restitution that must be paid. Robert is absolutely correct. It's why why the government of Germany makes sure that no one forgets the Holocaust. If you forget it, and then it didn't happen. We have people in this country right now. Jillian Michaels, I was recalling the stupid comments that she made on that other network where she suggested that slavery was, a good time. We have people out there who genuinely, now she's an idiot, but we have people out there who genuinely might be confused or unsure or unclear because they're not getting the right information. So we have to have moments where we can tell the true history of America, which has some good things, but also some very dark things. And slavery was one of those dark things. It is fundamental. It is our original sin. It's from which everything else flows in this country. And we have to be able to talk about that. Juneteenth is an opportunity. And for those people who are being very literal right now, let's be clear about this. Jesus wasn't born on December 25th.
All right, folks, big day tomorrow in Chicago when the Obama Presidential Center is going to open in the Windy City. I was a part of the folks a couple weeks ago who went to Chicago to get a sneak peek. Well, the opening ceremonies is taking place tomorrow beginning at 10:30 a.m. Come on. at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. It's going to be broadcast on their website, on C-SPAN as well. Former presidents George W. Bush and Bill Clinton are going to be in attendance. Diaper Don was not invited to be there, thank goodness. And so the $850 million center, of course, will speak to his 8 years as president. It has exhibits in there regarding Michelle Obama, pay tribute to her mother there as well. And also, it goes beyond just him, but also the history of this country, the history of voting, race, and democracy as well. So it is a lot to see, but it's also a 19-acre campus. They've got on that campus, you're going to see it in a second. They've got a garden on that campus. They've got a playground and also a full-court basketball court as well. So it's a whole lot that they have there at the Belmont Presidential Center. This, been years in the making. Was supposed to open a few years ago, but they delayed it. Of course, additional funds are raised, things along those lines, and so that's what's going on. And so a big celebration will be taking place tomorrow again in Chicago, the opening of the Presidential Center. Time for Black Star Network headlines.
It's been 11 years since 9 black worshipers in Charleston, South Carolina were gunned down by a white supremacist. Reverend Clementa Pickney, Cynthia Hurd, Sharonda Coleman Singleton, Tawanda Sanders, Reverend DePayne Middleton, Dr. Ethel Lance, Reverend Daniel Simmons Sr., Susie Jackson, and Myra Thompson were all murdered during a Bible study at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in 2015. Emmanuel is one of the oldest black churches in the South. At the time of the attack, 21-year-old Dylan Roof had attended the Bible study before opening fire. He specifically targeted that church due to its historical significance during the era of slavery and civil rights. In December of 2016, Roof was convicted of 33 federal hate crime and murder charges. In 2017, he pleaded guilty to all 9 state charges to avoid the death penalty and was sentenced to life in prison. In Kentucky, a former Louisville police officer has been indicted in the fatal shooting of a man that officials say should have never happened. A Jefferson County grand jury charged former officer Nathan Stotz with second-degree manslaughter and reckless homicide in the May 30th death of 27-year-old Martin Nitzkin Jr. Police say officers were responding to reports that Nitzkin had assaulted 3 women and was running through a neighborhood naked. Body camera footage shows that he was standing up in the street and moving towards Stotz, repeatedly ignoring orders to stop. Stotz fired a single shot, killing him. Days after the shooting, Louisville Metro Police Chief Paul Humphrey announced plans to fire Stotz, saying Nitzkin was naked, stumbling, and unarmed, and that deadly force was not justified. Stotz resigned before the termination process was completed. Stotz, who joined the department in 2024, is scheduled for arraignment on June 22nd. He faces up to 10 years in prison for manslaughter charge and up to 5 years for the reckless homicide charge. The grand jury declined to indict Stotz on the most serious charge of murder. A California black man has filed a legal claim alleging that he was viciously beaten by Burbank police officers in a sidewalk encounter that was recorded on body camera video. The incident happened shortly after 8:00 p.m. on October 22nd of 2025. Aaron Robinson said he repeatedly yelled, "I can't breathe," as the officer attempted to subdue him on the sidewalk. In the body camera footage, police are heard saying they're going to use tasers. Robinson said he didn't want to die and mentioned George Floyd's name during the encounter, and they lessened the beating. The Burbank Police Department said that on October 22nd, police were called to the scene after Robinson allegedly obstructed traffic near a busy intersection. They also say he has had multiple encounters with police officers in the past. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office independently evaluated the matter and filed criminal charges against Robinson in connection with the incident. In Tennessee, a federal grand jury returned a 6-count indictment against Shelby County General Sessions Court clerk Tammy Sawyer. According to the indictment, the Sawyer stole and used $44,000 in public funds charged to county-issued cards to pay for personal expenses between August of 2024 and June of 2025. The indictment also alleges that Sawyer used some of the money in a money laundering scheme. Officials say she transferred stolen funds to a PayPal account controlled by a friend who kept a small portion and returned the remainder to Sawyer through Cash App. She had been charged with conspiracy to commit honest services, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, honest services, wire fraud, money laundering, and interstate travel in aid of racketeering enterprises. Sawyer faces up to 20 years, a fine of up to $500,000, and a term of supervised release up to 3 years. Michigan lawmakers are proposing a new bill that would make it illegal to get within 25 feet of police or other first responders. Lawmakers are moving forward with a new proposal called HALO Law that would make it a crime to ignore a warning to stay back from police. Also from firefighters, EMTs, and other first responders while they're working. Lawmakers say 25 feet is about the right amount of space for first responders during an active scene. A violation could be a 60-day or $500 misdemeanor unless the first responder is injured, in which case it would be a 2-year, $1,000 felony. President Donald Trump wants to build a national garden of American heroes, but a group of organizations have filed a lawsuit to block the project, arguing that it violates the law. The proposed statue garden in West Potomac Park is a space near the National Mall that already includes the Korean War Veterans Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial, and the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. Monday, a coalition of organizations, including the D.C. Preservation League, National Mall Coalition, National Parks Conservation Association, and the Cultural Landscape Foundation, filed a lawsuit to prevent the proposed statue garden in West Potomac Park from proceeding without congressional authorization. West Potomac Park has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places as part of the East and West Potomac Park's Historic District since 1973 for its association with the city, beautiful movement, and the cultural landscape. Back to you.
All right, Brittany and Shirley, appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Catch the breakdown of Brittany Noble every day, noon Eastern on the Black Star Network. Every day, noon Eastern on the Black Star Network. All right, folks. On Friday, I was in Memphis giving the Juneteenth speech. First of all, you see I'm wearing, this is the one from St. Louis County. When I spoke there last year, they gave me this Juneteenth shirt. I appreciate it. And so when I was speaking in Memphis on Juneteenth for the 33rd annual event they had there, the president of Lemoyne Owen College gave me some gifts. And one of them, they gave me a shirt. He talked about the fact that I gave the commencement speech at Lemoyne Owen. I think it was 2017. This was 9 years ago. But they never sent me the honorary degree they gave me. And so I told them that, so they're going to be sending that to me. We have 5 others in our studio here we'll be listing. And he also gave me a pair of these shoes here. So let me be real clear. Y'all know I don't wear no purple and gold. You ain't going to never see me in purple and gold. Okay, so this is not, it ain't got nothing to do with Omega. These are literally the Lemoyne Owen shoes. They've got a campus map. They got a campus map on this side right here. And then on this shoe right here, they've got 1862. That was a year that they actually started. That's right, 3 years before 1 year before the Emancipation Proclamation. And so 1862, these are, turn it this way, 1862. So I appreciate that. And so I'm gonna do this here, go turn the lights up over there. So I'm going to, so y'all know, so all in our studio, you can go to that wide shot there. All in our studio, I have different shoes in our studio. That's right, hit the lights on this other side over here. So you see over here in our display, I got these Air Force Ones that I got at the YouTube Black event. I've got these Nike Black History Month shoes. The folks with Georgia Stand Up, I think it's, no, the New Georgia Project, they had these specialized Pumas of people celebrating here. These are the Colin Kaepernick shoes. And these are my man at Eastside Golf. They had these shoes here based upon, they're called 1961. That was when the PGA Tour got rid of their Caucasian-only rule. And so let me see where I'm going to do these shoes here. You know what? I'm going to do them over here. So I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and move these books. I'm going to move these books over here for the meantime. And so Nike, y'all ain't cutting us no checks, so y'all going to get demoted. So Nike, y'all, these shoes here going to go down here. And then, so I'm going to put these Lemoyne Orange shoes right next to the football that Grambling University gave me when they won the national championship. So I'm going to put these all on this shelf right here. So there we go. Got those shoes right there. And so, Lemoyne, I appreciate it. I look forward to being back on the campus. And so we'll ask our panel this here. So let me ask Rebecca and Robert and Joy, what y'all got planned for Juneteenth?
We're doing a Sinners Murder Mystery Night at our house for Juneteenth. We'll also be...
Stop. Hey, hold up. A Sinners Murder Mystery Night.
Yeah, we invented a game where one person will be the vampire. Everybody else will try to survive the night. The vampire tries to turn everybody into the vampire.
First question, hold up. Are y'all inviting any white people inside?
Yes, Richie and Shannon are supposed to show up at midnight and stand outside. I gave them my ukulele already. I told them to work on Pit Poor Richard Clean. I haven't told the black folks yet that they're showing up, so I'll film it and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. All right. Rebecca, what you got?
I'm going to be at a community breakfast giveaway Friday morning, and then Saturday I'm going to Juneteenth Gala in North Carolina.
Okay, all right then. Joy, what you got?
I'm engaging in Black Joy. That's what I'm doing. If I'm going to be honest.
You are Black
I don't
Joy.
mean that.
Yeah. All that means you ain't doing shit. Just go ahead.
Exactly. That's correct.
You should just go.
People not doing anything is the greatest sometimes thing that we can do for our ancestors. We are their wildest dreams.
Oh my God.
On Saturday night, I will be going to a comedy show where I'm sure all the things are on the table. We'll be laughing very hard.
I mean, just black people.
It's a celebration, Roland. She's allowed to celebrate.
Black people.
That's what Juneteenth celebrations were.
Look, y'all Negroes just sit here and just, I'm going to be celebrating personal black. Just say you ain't doing nothing. I mean, just sitting here.
She's celebrating joy.
She ain't doing a damn.
That counts. She deserves.
She ain't doing a damn thing.
She deserves.
I got questions.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh yeah, the menu for the the menu for the barbecue gonna be pulled pork sliders with a slaw vinaigrette slaw, along with many tiny little what's called peach cobblers. We're trying to do era appropriate dishes along with red beans and rice and collard greens on the side. We're gonna have the little moonshine things in the mason jars. It's gonna be a big production. I'll send pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised y'all not gonna have no damn gun range with your ass.
Is around the corners. Governor's Club is right up there at Hiram. That everybody gets here at 6 for that. I just assumed that was assumed.
Yeah, I thought so. All right, y'all. I told y'all about what's happening in Georgia Saturday in Harlem. Go to my iPad. When we fight, we win. It's Freedom Summer, Juneteenth week of action. There's the Adam Clayton Powell Jr. State Office Building Plaza. This will be taking place. And so go to freedomsummer2026.com. freedomsummer2026.com. It begins at 1 p.m. So that's taking place on Saturday in Harlem. So y'all look forward to that. All right, folks, before we go, HBO has their documentary, the Questlove documentary on Earth, Wind, and Fire. And a couple of years ago, I sat down with the homies, Ralph Johnson, Verdine White, and Philip Bailey, to talk about And so you can go to our YouTube channel. You can see it's an incredible interview I had with them. We shot this. We were in LA, and they talked about why they've had such longevity and success. And so here is a part of that interview.
Yeah, I think it's every 1 minute and 15, right? 30 seconds or something like that. An Earth, Wind & Fire tune is being played on the radio on the globe somewhere. So I guess that's 24 hours of Earth, Wind on the planet Earth, I guess.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
It's a good problem to have.
Oh yeah, no, it's a good problem to have because it's so many people. I had a discussion the other day, and we were talking about do you want to have that short, massive success, or do you want that long term? And I just still think when you think about Otis Williams, the last survivor of Temptation, and even though he's the last original Temptation, audiences still want to hear that sound. They want to see those steps. When the Queen was alive, Aretha Franklin, when Patti LaBelle performs, and again, folk, they still, to your point, they're remembering where they were. They're remembering how they grew up. It was prom. It was first time they made love. It was whatever. And music is always associated with those hallmarks or those points in our lives.
Do you think those days are gone, though? I mean, just in the climate that we're in, because before music took up the space was there for the music to take up so much a part of our lives and stuff, people's lives. Now it's just a real small slice because of everything else, all the other digital inner.
No, I think here's the deal. I think out of all the influences, the reality is music is separate and distinct from everything else. Because at the end of the day, it's everywhere. Television is not everywhere. But so whether you're in the car, whether you're at the party, music is going to be there. In fact, so I'm leaving a place. They said, well, we're going over to this hotel. And we say, okay, is it an after party or is it folk hanging out in the lobby? And then they said, I don't know. Then somebody said, oh, they have a DJ. We went, it's an after party. We were not interested in the hangout in the lobby part. No, it had to be music there. So that's why, and I think even some artists today, their song with the party, again, a Beyonce song comes on, Too Short comes on. There still are.
Yeah, I think it's every 1 minute and 15, right? 30 seconds or something like that. An Earth, Wind.
Do this here. Go to our YouTube channel. You can see the whole interview with those three founding members of Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's a fabulous conversation, and I appreciate them sitting down and chatting with us. Ralph Johnson has a book coming out on his life and career, so we look forward to that. And I was texting all three of them just the other day. They returned from Hawaii back to L.A. And next couple of months, Earth, Wind & Fire is going to be on tour with Lionel Richie, my alpha brother. So y'all know I'm going to have to go see them in concert. And so that's going to happen as well. So let me thank Joy. Let me thank Robert. Let me thank Rebecca for being on today's show. I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Folks, don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars supports the work that we do. Perfect example, we went to L.A. We did a bunch of interviews with Earth, Wind & Fire and Malcolm Lee and Mark Curry and so many others. We do that work. The stories that we cover, the news that we cover is all important. So when you support us, you're supporting this show, the 5 other shows on the Black Star Network. And so if you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com. That's for credit cards as well. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037, 0196. PayPal is R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. And if you want to support the Black-owned products in our marketplace, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Everything that you see in this studio, all of these products right here, are available on our shop, blackstarnetwork.com. I mean, we've got hats and shirts and dolls. We've got candles. We got car solution. We've got skincare, beauty care, sauces, you name it. We've got a sweet potato flour cake mix. We've got treats for animals, watches. I mean, all sorts of stuff. Let's see, backpacks, crossword puzzles. Even got black-owned toilet paper and tissue. That's right. And so support of these black-owned products is critically important, that we invest in black-owned companies again. And then when you support them, buying their products on our website, you're also supporting what we do here. So go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com. Don't forget to support the other fan base. Download the app. Follow me at Roland S. Martin on fan base. And support the shows that we have on the network every Tuesday. We stream A Balanced Life, Reverend Dr. Jackie Hood Martin. Every Wednesday, we stream The Other Side of Change with Bria Baker and Jamira Burley. Of course, every Thursday, we have, Second Opinion with Dr. Ebony Hilton, our health show. Every Friday, The Black Table with Dr. Greg Carr, as well as Roland's Book Club. And so that is every single week. So those are all the shows that you see right here on the network. So folks, that is it for this Wednesday show during Juneteenth week. And so we appreciate, and again, I don't know who sent me this Juneteenth flag. I appreciate you sending me this flag. Shout out to the people in St. Louis County who gave me this shirt. I spoke there last year. I had a good time there as well. And so that's it, folks. I will see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered, on the Black Star Network. Holla!